There's a paper that has.
You want me to share the screen with the paper?
Yeah, why not? Or whatever you want. I want to make sure we have the Tillim.
Let me pull it up right now.
Okay, Rabbi Say. Let's say, do we have a minion here, B'chlau? A minion?
Usually within a few minutes, Mirza Hashem will have a minion. But
let's start the Tillim. The
Tillim,
this is for L'Zchur Shnei Zalman Ben Hinda, L'Zchur Shleima Kreva Meheda.
Amen.
If a Moshe relates him by Yasho, the Imbecilis of Mechef Tzerv Sirasa Yaga Yam of Alayla. The Hoya Kate Shasto Apal de Mayim, Ashapiria Yitin Beite, Valeo Layiba, Vachalash Yasi Apliach. Loy Chen Arashoim Kim Kamoitz of Shetifani Ruach, Alkain Layikum Risham, the Mishpat Chetam Ba'adat Tzadikim. The Yedei Abinoi Derech Tzadikim, the Derech Sharm Tevei. I'm not saying from Mizmar Daviyan, Abinoi the Emtali, Segef, Him El Hayatish. Yitzchak has a Chami Kodesh Mishim Tzedakah. Yitzchak Kama Chesachah Levasi Dash Nesala. Yitzchak Yobavach V'chalatzos Yimalei. Ram Nemeshu Senu V'Shem Balahim Nidgel. Yimalei Avinoy Kom Mishalei Sacha. Ati Yadati Deshi Adnei Mishichoi. Yaneu Mishmei Kodsher B'Gvoreis Yeshe Yemina. Eila Berech Aveila V'Asusim Anachnu Mishem Adonai Elohim Nazkir. Hey Makor V'Nafolu. ואנחנו קמנו בנסוידו, דרינו ישיה המלך יעננו, ויום קורנו. Okay, Rabbi Say, the title of the shir, I thought would be Tzugapast, is Beniנו, Arabim, Ba'adenu. And as Lubavitch Chassidim, that became our slogan to convince everybody, you make your ice cream parties and everything for all the children to come to listen to Aseres Adibus. But let's go dig deep and let's see B'Shas Kabbalah Satira, B'Shas Maisa and Achar Maisa, what guarantees, what collateral did the Eibush take? And as we know from the Bar Mitzvah Maimer, Magid Dvarav Yaakov Chukav Mishvatav Yisrael, every halacha and Shulchan Aruch the Eibush keeps. So let's see if it's legally correct to use these type of mashkrenas and these type of arvus. All right. So let me tell you what we find like this. We find that in the collateral and the guarantors, the arvus and the mashkrenas that the Eibishter took for Torah and mitzvahs, we find different types and in different times. The Gemara says in Masechta Shavuos, Lamites Amid Aleph. The Gemara says, based on last week's parsha, 2 weeks ago, V'chashlu ish ba'achiv, that Kol Yisrael Arevim Zebazeh. There's two types of arvus. There's the arvus, how the Eibishter wants a guarantor, a collateral that we will keep Torah mitzvahs, and then there is the responsibility every Yid has for another one. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zebazeh, and everybody gets responsible for Klal Yisrael, for Achiv. And the Gemara has a machlekes between Reb Nechemya. The Gemara in Shavuos has Sanhedrin Mem Gimel Amud Beis. The Gemara has a machlekes between Reb Nechemya and Reb Yehuda. At what time in history did every Yid become liable to make sure that every other Jew does the right thing? When did the Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh start? Did it start before they went to before they passed over the Yarden, or after they came into Eretz Yisrael? And it's based on the pasuk on Historis Lashem on Alikeinu V'Amnigla Itzlonu L'Bamenu. And over there's every one of those words are nakud. So there is a limud for every one of those words. And there's a machlekes. What is the miyut? Is the miyut that they didn't become liable for Klal Yisrael until they entered Eretz Yisrael, or perhaps there's a difference between mitzvahs hagluyos or mitzvahs hanestaros. There's actually a beautiful, I think it's a Noid of Yehuda. There's a Nitzlach. In Nitzlach Masech the Brachas says a very big chiddush that the liability, I shouldn't use the word liability, the responsibility that every Yid has towards making sure that Achiv, any fellow Jew, is doing Torah mitzvahs is only a din arvus for a mitzvah sasei dairaisa. For every mitzvah sasei dairaisa, you are responsible that another yid has to do that mitzvah. A mitzvah that Rabbanon hayois that the Kabbalah's arvus was taken Shas as Har Evo or around the time of Matan Torah. At that time, there was not yet Isur de Rabbanon. Not too long ago, I gave a shir about the whole concept of Nasiv and Nishma. Halachically, if that was considered a legal bind, because the Shulchan Aruch and Choshen Mishpat says that if you make a commitment, an open-ended commitment, a davar she'ein le kitzvah, even if you make a kinyan, you don't have to keep it because you didn't know what you're getting into. So there's a shaila nachronim when the Yidden said Nasiv and Nishma, they didn't really know yet what they're getting. So maybe that's our loophole, our way out. But that's for a different time. Right now, when the Yidden became Arevim Zelazeh, so the Tzlach is Mechadish, that it's only for Isur Deraisa, because the Isurei Derabanan, or the Mitzvahs Derabanan, were not around yet. However, some Achronim obviously have a problem with that Tzlach, because they say, excuse me, there's the Mitzvah of Hallel, the Mitzvah of Megillah, which we know that a Chazan could get up there and read it for anybody else, even though he fulfills the Mitzvah. So the Arvus, one Yid to another Yid, L'chayra is mashma clearly that even by any Mitzvah the Rabbanan. Okay, so we have Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh. We are each responsible for another Yid, and Baruch Hashem, we're talking to a group of people who are on shlichus. That's what we do for a living. But that's not the Arvus I'm talking about. I'm going to be talking about a Arev that the Eibishter took before he gave the Torah. Before he gave the Torah, the Eibishter says, in the Sichos from the Rebbe explains that in the Sinas HaTorah, the Messiah HaTorah is given over in many ways. It's given over in a Ofen Shel Yerusha, is given over in a way Shel Mecher, is given over a way Shel Matana, and the Rebbe has a beautiful shot in each one of them. What's the part of Torah that's a Mechira? What's the part of Torah that's a Yerusha? Matana, ki lekach tov nafsati lechem. The Rebbe has beautiful pshatim about this. But the Eibishter comes to Matan Torah, and the Eibishter wants a good business. He wants to invest in a good business. None of us want to invest in a losing proposal. So the Eibishter is about to give the Torah. Now we all know this medrash, but we only know one line of this medrash. The medrash is beautiful, and let's read it from the page. I don't know. I see you have it over here, but the pictures are blocking it, so I'm going to read it from the page I have. I printed it out. The medrash is in Shir HaShirim. And in Shir HaShirim, on the pasuk Mashcheni Acharecha Merutza, the famous pasuk we all know from the Maimarim, Mashcheni Acharecha Merutza. Mashcheni means draw me in, and I will run after you. So Mashcheni also has another interpretation. Mashcheni, because I got your mashkin, because I got some security. Acharecha Merutza, and that's going to be this medrash that we all know. So let's go through this quickly. Because it's a long medrash. Again, the shir is only half an hour. I'm sorry I can't go on forever. Dr. Medrash, Amar Meir. B'shasha Amdi Yisrael with Nehar Sinai v'Kabel HaTorah. We all know the other B'shasha Gdimu Nasal Nishma. There's actually on this week's parsha also that when the Eibishter wanted to give the Torah and the Goyim wanted it, the Eibishter says, bring me the Sefer Yuchsin. Bring me the Sefer Yuchsin. You guys show me your lineage, show me your generations to come. And they couldn't bring Kol Doisam Levesa Voisam. The Eibishter says Torah is not for you. So we see that the tradition of the Messiah from generation to generation is what gave us the Torah over the Goyim. But that's in this week's parsha. But look at the famous medrash. Amar Abayeh b'shasha amdi Yisrael l'fnei Har Sinai l'kabel HaTorah. Amar Lam HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Eibishter says to them, El Ikei, the Mefarshim say the lashon shel shvua. I promise you, Ani noisen lechem es HaTorah. I'm willing to give away the Torah. Ella, but do me a favor. Nobody wants to do something that's not profitable. Heviu li arevim toivim, heviu li arevim toivim shetishmerua. Please bring good guarantors that will guarantee that you'll keep the Torah. V'ani noishna lachem. Amru lefanov, so the Yidden said, Rebbeinu Shalom, Aveiseinu arevim lanu. Ooh, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov will be the arevim. We all know, with all our speeches, we say, no, the Eibishter didn't want this, the Eibishter didn't want this, until the Beniנו. What did the Eibishter say? Why doesn't he want this? Now you'll see in the Medrash. Why wasn't the Eibishter satisfied with Aveiseinu? Amalehem, so the Eibishter says to them, you're bringing me Aveiseinu? They need a Arev. They're not the most perfect people. Aveiseichem tzrichem arevim. Even for them, I need a guarantor, they'll keep it. What's going on? Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. I'm talking about the Avis. So I'm going to jump around. It's a long medrash, but the medrash says the Eibishter brings a mashal that a guy wanted to take a loan, and he brought a Arev. The bank says he has bad credit, so he brings a second one. Finally, he brings the third one, and because of the third guy with the good credit, he gives the loan. And the Eibishter says, the Avis, I have an issue with. What's the issue? What's the issue? I have issue with some of them. Avram, Avram it wasn't always smooth sailing. He asked me, how am I going to know that all you promised will get done? Whoa, you questioned the Eibishter. I have, as we say in our language, I have beef with him. Yitzchak, I don't take him as a good Arev. Yes, Rabbi Feller, I was 30 years in Minnesota. So Rabbi Feller once went to the bank to get a loan, and his credit rating wasn't half of a fella. So they asked him for a co-signer. So he goes back and he brings a nach, where the nach says, Liya Kesef, Liya Zov, Amar Hashem Tzvakes. And he said, God will co-sign on the loan. No, so listen to this. The Eibishter says, I'm looking for a co-signer. So I'm not giving you Avram. He said, Bama Eda. Yitzchak Eishi Olav, Shaya Oyev Leisav. What's he saying? He likes Esav. And I, Vanisa Nasiv. I don't like Esav. So we don't match. And Yaakov, Sha'amar Nistara Darche Hashem. Yaakov also wasn't what we say, Ish Tam Yoshev Olam. He also had some question. So the Eibishter says, those are not good, I can't use them as arvus. Ella haviuli arevim toivim v'aminois nalachem. So the Yidden came back and they said, Nivienu arevim lanu. We'll bring the Nevi'im. So the Eibishter says, the Nevi'im, amongst the Nevi'im, there were plenty of them that weren't good. There were some of them weren't good. They questioned me, and they said things about me. They're not good also. The last thing we said, Amru hare b'neinu ha'erevim ha'isanu, our children are the Arab. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, havadai arevim toivim, al yedayim et nenelchem. Because of them, because of them, I'm giving the Torah. Hadeinu diksiv, mipi oilalim v'yointim yisadet ha'oiz, the ein oiz el Torah. This is the famous medrash that everybody's going to speak about on Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah, right? And that's why all the kids come to shul. Now, so this is a Arev that the Eibishter took before he was willing to give us the Torah. Rashi in Chumash, the next in Parshas Pekudei, want to scroll it up? Rashi says, why does the pasuk say in Parshas Pekudei, Mishkan, Beis Pa'am, in Mishkan Ha'edus? Says Rashi, says the word Mishkan twice, Shnei Pa'amim, Remez leMishkan Mikdash, Shenismashkein v'Shnei Churbanim ala v'Neseim Shel Yisrael. The Beis HaMikdash, which we also call Mishkan is Meloshin Mashkin. The Eibishter took the Mashkin away from us because that was his collateral, that was his guarantee. When the Yidden keep Torah, Fine, they're paying their dues. They're paying the dues. When they don't, Rahman al-San keep Torah, the Eibishter has a mashkin, and that's the Mishkan, the Mikdash, that he took away the two base Batei Mikdashes. So if you look in the Likkutei Sichos that I asked the quote, I want you to look on page 176, Ha'ara 6. There's a beautiful Sikh in Chelik Yud Aleph, where the Rebbe goes on to explain this Rashi. This Rashi is very problematic. In many ways, the Rashi, a lot of the Yukon the Rebbe has on this, that the Eibishter comes and takes a mashkin, there's two Batei Mikdashes, and the two Batei Mikdash, the Rebbe has a very, you look on top of Ha'ara 6, look on the Oiz, Oiz Zayin? Read Oiz Zayin. It's a beautiful question. Rashi Mefarish Mehaloshen Mishkan Shah Mikdash Nismashkein B'Shnei Shechobanan. The Eibishter took the Mishkan as a collateral. Now, what's a collateral? What is a mashkin? A mashkin is, you owe me $1,000. I see you giving me a hard time to pay it. I'm going to take away your car. I'm going to take away your watch. When you pay me the $1,000, I'm giving it back. I'll give you the watch back. Right? So when the Yidden behave, the Eibishter is supposed to give us back the mashkin. Okay. So the Eibishter gave us the second base of Mikdash when things settled. But the mashkin wasn't given back to us fully. The second base of Mikdash we didn't have. It's sort of the Eibishter jipped off some of the mashkin. That's a klotz kasha, right? I just want to read it because even though it's not what we're going to talk about, read that beautiful chap that Rebbe said. It's a mashkin. Hainu shechubana shalom mikdash u'ba'ifan adayma b'lekichas mashkin u'lechayra enekein. Sharei amashkin hu davar hanitel me'aloyva ba'ifan arai uzmani. Ad she'ipara achoiv she'oz choyzer amashkin lebalav. U'lefiza b'nidan dan, today's in our conversation, kishalokach HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a mikdash arishin l'mashkin, hoyelei lachzir k'moy shehu. Hainu shebeis hamikdash hasheni yidma b'chol prativ larishin ubepoyo harei b'mikdash hasheni nechsiru kama inyanim. And the Rebbe lists off what they are. So it's a funny type of mashkin. That's a question that on its own, and the Rebbe answers that question at the Sikha. But I want to discuss Ha'ara 6. What does the Rebbe say? In Halacha there are two types of mashkinas. There's one mashkin, you come to me, you say, Rabbi Williams, I need to have a $20,000, I need to make a payment. So there's two types of mashkinas. There's a mashkin b'shas halva, and there's a mashkin shaloi b'shas halva. A mashkin b'shas halva, if you want your money, and I say, listen, I don't trust you, I need credit, you don't have credit, I can't take risks. If you give me your Rolex, I'll give you the loan. At the time of the halva, I could say, I'm not giving it to you unless A, B, C, D. If you don't produce A, B, C, D, I'm not going to give the loan. I don't have to give the loan. I don't have to flush my money. I can even demand for crazy things. As long as you are in consent and you agree, you're meshabed. You meshabed yourself. That's if it's gone b'shas halva. What happens if I gave you the loan because I trusted you, and a couple of months later I see, this guy is not going to pay me back. So I got cold feet. I want to take a mashkin now. Oh, a mashkin shalai b'shas halva has a whole different bunch of set of rules. What's the bunch of set of rules? Erstens, I can't barge into your house. A malva is not allowed to go into the leiva's house and take anything. Zweitens, even if it's the shliach bezdin, the malva himself can't do anything by force. The shliach bezdin can't even do it by force to go into the house. The shliach bezdin could only do it machutz tamli, as the pasuk says in Mishpatim. And even when he takes something, he can't take a chaye nefesh. He can't take a rechayim, things that a kli oichel nefesh. So there's a whole list of rules that apply when it's shaloi b'shas halva. So the Rebbe makes a point over here. 6. Even though this mashkin the Yidden took after this, the Eibishter took after the sin, the Yidden sin, Hainu la'achar shalei paru achoiv v'loi be'esa halva. So says the Rebbe, that's still a mashkin. It's still called a mashkin. Shar arekva yedua shezeu gamzeu mashkin. And the Rebbe the point the Rebbe makes that the Beis Hamikdash is still considered a mashkin, even though it was not shaloi, even though it wasn't b'shas halva. Good. So now we have the arev that the Eibishter took before he gave the Torah, and then there is the mashkin that he takes, Rahman al-Tzlan, when we fly. There's an interesting sikha that I have here. Well, I don't know if you have it here, where the Rebbe makes a chiddush. Why? Page 306. Let's read through quickly page 306 in the sikha, and that is a chelik beis. Like them, Oish Yud Beis. Like them, Alam and Be'manech verstehen den Chilik zwischen Torah und Mitzvahs legabe Ketanim. Von alle Mitzvahs seinen Ketanim Potter. Es ist aber da a Mitzvah mit Tzadchayvas Chinuch, that there is, but the cotton itself is Potter. Aber die Mitzvah is not mit Divrei Seifen. Und die Mitzvah is auf dem Potter, nicht auf dem Kind. Chinuch, right? That's when you went a lulav for anything, it's all with the Rabbanon, and it's all on the father to educate the kid. That's mitzvahs. Aber bei Torah steht mitzvahs asay min ha-Torah ala av l'lamed es b'noi. Es ist da a chiyuv oichayvim ben as is chayiv lilmed es atzma kishiyakir. Wow. It's a chiyuv to learn even though he is under bar mitzvah. The time that of them mitzvahs zayin ba'adbala, because they're limited and they need new maturity. So for that, you can't be a cotton. Aber Torah bazi is believable is by all Eden, even by a cotton. The answer to that, a very good shaila. Ois Yud Gimel, the fire hot them by matan the Torah, your father the arvus from Banim. Therefore, when it came to giving the Torah, you were able to take the arvus from the children. Because by the mitzvah and it's the arvus b'mara, why didn't the Eibush take the order a couple of weeks earlier? When he gave us Shabbos, when he gave us maybe Kibbut Avayim, which is Kasha Tzivcha b'mara. Why didn't he want an arv there? Because for mitzvahs, I don't need. The Eibush didn't want an arv. By mitzvahs and it's hat man nicht kein arvus nicht gedacht. Und dafür bei Matan Torah hat man gefordert arvus. Like them, but the Zayin verstandig, the Iker Inyan from Matan Torah is not Nesinas HaMitzvahs, nor Nesinas HaTorah. Because Ir Chiyav is Eichel Ktanim. And we vowed, as Eich Ktanim Zayin B'chuyiv, the Belim of that Torah, steht die Meile in Zeydavke. Wie erfährt das Oisen Medisch mit die Eilel und B'yoinkim Yisadatais. So now the Rebbe answers that yes, we have, the Ktanim are Arevim, and the Ktanim are the guarantors. And the reason why the Eibishter didn't take them earlier, didn't demand the Arv earlier, because for mitzvahs, we don't need Arvus. It's only for limit of Torah, you take Arvus, and that happens by Matan Torah. So here comes two klutz questions in Halacha. Klutz questions in Halacha. A, for the Mashkin, and B, for the Arv. Let's start with the Mashkin. I don't know if Yossi did it, but he missed one Maramakim. In the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch Hilchas Halva. Oh, he did put it in. Oh boy, he's good. The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch Hilchas Halva Seif Zayin. So over there, the Alter Rebbe says that make sure when you get a loan or you give a loan, don't give it to a person that's going to be shaky, because believe it or not, you'll be over and with Me'iva sit in the show. And then the Alter Rebbe says in Sif Vav, he tells you how important it's to give a loan with a mashkin. Siv Zayin, Hamalves Chaverei Echad Oni Vechad Asher Shaloi Ala Mashkin. If you did not take a mashkin at the time of the loan, Ukeshagia Zman Apiroin, Vol Mashkinoi, Lias Batuach Oisav. Months down the line, when the due date came, he sees he's not paying. He wants to take a mashkin now. So the Alter Rebbe says the halacha, lo yimashkenu ba'atzmai, elo lein kenis nishnemen. But it has to go through Bezdin. And Bezdin itself can't go into the house. V'chulu v'chulu. Right? And if Bezdin does that, and anybody does different, it's over ba'aseh. So then the Alter Rebbe says, turn to the end of Siv Zayin. Kelim hatzrichim loy vayoimu balayla. You cannot take anything. A keli that the person, the loiva needs. He needs it. When I teach these halachas, sometimes I think, if it's an Uber driver, you take away his car. If this is what he needs to make a parnasa. Because it's really kli oichel nefesh. It's really kli oichel nefesh. But the place can say, doesn't necessarily mean oichel nefesh, it means survival. But anyways, kelim atzrichim loy bayoyim v'layla asur litlam klau. Kugoyim begesh shaloyvesh bayoyim v'layla. That's something you're not allowed to take as a mashma. How does Abish to take the Beis Hamikdash from us? Is there a greater keli that we need? Every yid needs a Beis Hamikdash. Every yid needs, this is Beis Chayenu. How is the Abish allowed to take the Beis Hamikdash away from us? Question 1. Let me move on to the question I have on the Arev. So for Arev, you don't have, what I want to read now from the Arev, you don't have. There's a din in, you don't have this one. There's a din in Hilchas Arev. In Simin, in Choshen Bishvat, Hilchas Arev is Simin Kuf Chav Tes. Over there it speaks of when a person could become an Arev. So an Arev has to be during Shas Halva. Hamalves Chavere. Somebody gave a loan. And after the loan, a guy says, Ani Arev, or whatever, the halacha is Ein Ha'arev Chayiv Leiklum. And even if it said with Nebed. So the Arev, the Eibishter outsmarted the system. He took the Arev early. Very good. The Eibishter knew this halacha. But when you look in Siman Kuf Lamed Beis, listen to halacha. Eved or Eishes Ish she'arvu lacherim. Not everybody's qualified to be an Arev. A Eved can, a woman can, because it's not their money. There is a clear din, Siman Kuf Lamed Beis, Sif Aleph. Katan she'arvu lacherim, ein chayiv l'shalem. A cotton, it's not his money. He cannot be set up as a collateral, as a guarantor. And not only any chayv l'shalom, aflich sheyagdil. So the shaila is a klutz question. Since when could a cotton be an arev? Now I'm mixing halacha and drush. Who cares? At the bottom line, the punchline should be good, right? The question becomes even stronger. Look at the Rambam that I have over there. Look at the Rambam that I quoted. The Rambam says that when there is an Arev, what's the game plan for the Arev? The game plan for the Arev depends if he's a regular Arev or an Arev Kablan. If he's a regular Arev, you first have to go to the Loiva. If the Loiva cannot pay, or he doesn't have, you go to the Arev. Right? So it's the Rambam in Hilchas Malva v'Loiva Perek Chafei Siv Gimel. The Rambam says, Hamalves Chaveda Ayidei Arev, Afal Pisha Arev Meshubed L'Malva, Lo Yitves Arev Tchila. You can't go to the Arev. Ela Teveyas Aloiva Tchila. Im Loi Nasan Loi Chayzer Eitzel Arev V'Nifra Mimen. So the Mishnah L'Melech, you have the Mishnah L'Melech there, right? In the parentheses, and this parenthesis, he has parentheses, halfway through, he says, Amar HaMechaber, Azu Dora Sharav HaMechaber, that the Medrash bring, yeah, there you have it, yeah? The Shah Sham the Yisrael, the Kabbalah Satera, yeah, our Medrash that we just learned. But Havar Kasha, the Lamai Moyel Arva Sabonim, how could the Bonim be a Arev? Not for the Shaila I said, that they're bunning. I don't know why he doesn't ask that question. For a different question. Since a Arab only becomes liable when the loiva can't pay, that's something that doesn't make sense by the Eibishter. The Eibishter could always get the loiva to pay. The Eibishter could always get what he wants from us. So what kind of joke is this? The arvus of a ktanim. What are they invested? And here's mechadish halacha. His halacha is, you're right. Usually you got to go to the loiva first, and only after the loiva doesn't have you could go to the Arif. But because the Ketanim knew when they took the Arvus at the time of Matan Torah that we're talking about the Eibishter, and the Eibishter, there is no stumbling blocks. The Eibishter doesn't have any way he can't get back the money. So what are they making a joke? Why are they even saying Arif? What did they mean that they're going to become Arevim? So he says, because they knew that the Eibishter could get it from the parents. They knew that the Eibishter could get it from the Gedolim. And yet they took upon themselves Arvus. That's why they became a Shubad. That's why they took upon themselves something that they didn't have to. They didn't have to, because halachically, you gotta but because they took it upon themselves, it's sort of a mashkin b'shas halva. Just like a mashkin b'shas halva, you could demand anything. Arev, if he knows that he's putting his neck out when he doesn't have to and he commits to it, the Eibishter could do that to the kids. Incidentally, what the Gemara says over here, when we're learning this medrash, Arabim Badenu, you know that the Gemara in Shabbos says that for a lot of troubles, Rahman al-Thlan, tzaddikim nitzposim ba'avayna dar. If ain't tzaddikim, then the kids get nitzpos. But why? What's going on? There's so many legal problems with the mashkin and the arev. And the simple taich that a lot of achrayim think is that what's the arvus of the cotton is if chas v'sholom the Yidden don't keep Torah, the Eibishter pays the ketanim, and they get punished for what they didn't, what the parents didn't do. That seems also not to be fair. So Libi Oymerli, I'm gonna tell you a gadata in my mind. It's a little stretching a little too far, but I think this is a chassidus deher. Reb Chaim Volozhiner and others asked the question about the mashkin. They say, how did the Eibishter take a mashkin, a thing which is chai nefesh? And they say a geschmaka answer. This is an answer that every one of you could use this in your speech on Shavuos. You're right. The Eibishter is not allowed to take it. He's not allowed to take the Beis HaMikdash because it's our chai nefesh. But the Eibishter took it away because he doesn't see that we keep it as chai nefesh. When he looks at us and he sees, there's money, there's gashmias, and that's what you make an ikar. The Eibishter says, the Mishkan, the Mikdash is not, you're not treating it like chai nefesh. Kenechas namen. The Eibishter is waiting for us to make the Beis HaMikdash your chai nefesh, and halachically he'll have to give it back. But he's waiting for us to show him that this is his chai nefesh. Beautiful, beautiful rayon. I want to say similar this to the arvus of a cotton. No, not the kids. Not the kids are responsible. They're guaranteeing that the parents will do the Torah mitzvahs. There's so many halachic problems with that. I think the Eibishter came to us and the Eibishter says, I want to invest. I want to invest with a high return. What's your guarantee? How are you going to prove to me that you're guaranteed that my investment is going to make profit? You tell me the Zaydat Galant. You tell me the Nevi'im Galant. I'm not interested in that investment. When the Yidden said, we, not they are guaranteeing, we are going to do everything what we could do that the legacy will keep on. We are guaranteeing that Beniנו are going to look like us. I'll look better than us. When the Eibishter sees, this is what you're living with. You're promising, you're committing that your kids are going to be involved in Torah mitzvahs, so the Eibusher says that's a good investment. So we are gedolim. We could commit. We're mature people. The Shiloh's following that up. It's not shot. The kids took responsibility. The Gemara Taka says terrible things. That the kids get punished because they disturbed the Elton from learning. Sounds very Litvish, the whole thing. They're getting punished. No! And Beniנו doesn't even say anywhere in the Medrash, you cannot go to a bank and ask for a loan and tell the bank, Yankel's taking responsibility. The bank is going to say, where's Yankel? Let me hear it from Yankel. Doesn't say anywhere that they asked the kids, and if the kids were there, maybe they're sucking on a lollipop. They don't know what's going on. How does the whole Arabus make sense? The Arabus makes sense that we are telling the Eibishter, Hein chayenu ba'orech yameinu. And we are going to live a life that the Torah legacy is going weiter. When the Eibishter sees that, he's willing to invest in us. And that, l'chayra, is the Beniנו, Arabim, Badenu. Of course the kids have to come. You know why the kids have to come? Because when you want your kids to come, when there's a Yiddish doctor and life is going good for him, he wants his children to be a doctor. When you're a shliach and you're a rav and you're a magachir and you like what you're doing, you're going to want your kids to do that. So bring your kids to shul. That shows that this is all what you are about. All right, Rabbi Say, this is it for now. I got to move on to my regular programming. Where's Jason here? I want to wish him well.
Well, he was here for a while. I guess he had to run off.
Okay, first thing, shut up the recorder. Don't I have another nephew there? Don't I have what's his name?